All right, we talk a lot about betting on ourselves, but what I don't think we talk about enough is betting on yourself with a partner. So let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jury. And if you're new here, welcome. We've been documenting the journey of me leaving my dream job at the Nike World Headquarters, where I used to work in Nike basketball, worked in entertainment, and I quit that job because I wanted to be a full-time artist and move to New York City with my wife. And we're here. You're in my apartment right now. I think this is a really important topic because I feel like there's so many people who want to chase their dream, but then they get into a relationship and then they fall off of the dream or they fall off of the path they were going for. And I personally think a lot of times it's not necessarily because the other person holds them back. Sometimes it is, but not always. I think a lot of times we stop going for things or we stop putting in effort towards a dream and sort of quote unquote settling down because we feel like we should. Let that one sink in. This is why I felt like this was really important, because a lot of y'all have been inspired by how my wife and I empower one another, support each other's dreams, and really try to make the impossible possible. So let's just jump right into this. All right, so look, leaving Nike was a risk, obviously, but it wasn't just a risk for me, it was a risk for both of us. You know what I mean? Like my wife, Kayla, she was running her own business already. She was an entrepreneur, and I had the high-paying salary job. You know, and it's kind of nice having that foundational, like that balance that allowed us to build her business while we also had this, you know, this salary. But at the end of the day, what was more important than the money or climbing a ladder and having this status was, are we the happiest we possibly can be? And if the answer is no, then we are going to do something about it. And that's something that I've always been so grateful for, is she is so good at making sure we are not living a life of what we call shoulds. Are you doing something because you feel like you should? Are you staying in the job because you feel like you should? Are you hanging out with the people that you're hanging out with because you feel like you should? Are you spending money on said thing because you feel like you should? I know you know what I mean. So when we decided to move to New York, there were a bunch of shoulds that I had to sort of peel back and make sure weren't blocking us from creating the life that we have today. If I had done it based on the shoulds that I had, life would look a lot different. So I'll give you an example. This was March of 2024. We take a trip to Arizona and we were like, hey, we're gonna go and sort of figure out how to make this New York move happen. This is gonna be like our getaway to just sort of brainstorm, ideate. I didn't know what the plan was yet. I just know that we wanted to leave, but I hadn't told anybody I worked with that I was even thinking about that. This was really just us trying to figure out, how do we do this in the most feasible, practical way? So we go on this trip and I'm sitting, you know, I feel super inspired because I'm like, okay, we're gonna figure out how to sell our place. And while I'm here, I'm also gonna create and sort of try to embody being an artist, being the person on the go who gets to create like wherever, right? So I'm like making beats by the pool and doing some cool things and just like trying to feel inspired while I'm there. Simultaneously though, I was also applying for jobs in New York because I felt like if I can apply for a job in New York, that would help us with the cost of the expenses of moving. That would help us with transitioning to New York in general. And then it just kind of help us get our feet on the ground. And then eventually I'll leave that job after building up sort of my artist game plan. That entire plan was literally all shoulds. I was applying for jobs because I felt like I should apply for a job. I felt like I should make it easier on us moving here. And I remember, I'll never forget, this is why my wife is the backbone to everything that you see today. I'll never forget this. I found a job that actually sounded really dope. It was a director opportunity on a creative team here in New York for a company that I really believe in. And I was like, yo, dope. I messaged some people that were on the team, started networking and connecting with people. And then I started to fill out the application. I was building a portfolio, I was updating my website, all these things. And in the middle of that, I took a break and went outside, and Kayla was outside reading. And so I sat next to her. I put my head in my hands and she could sense there was this like looming cloud over me. It was that moment that I just started to break down a bit because I was feeling like, here we are trying to plan this move to New York so that I can get closer to doing my art. And I'm applying for this job because I feel like I should. And I'm realizing it's just gonna put me back in the same exact position that I was before. Feeling creatively trapped, not spending time on my art. And I just felt like I was signing myself up to move to this glorious place that we wanted to be, but still being in this box. And she puts her hands on my shoulder and she says, what if you just chose to be the full-time artist now? She's like, you don't need another job. You just need to step into doing the art today. She's like, look at all the evidence we have already that says that you can take this leap now. And so literally in that moment, it sank in. It was just like I saw a montage of like all the things flash before my eyes of all the things that I've done. And it just like, it went so fast, but it hit me in that moment where I was like, she's right. That was the definitive moment where I decided that I was going to be an artist and I wasn't going to move to New York under any other title. And so I quit and we left. For me, what that moment really meant was, in order for people to believe in me, I've got to believe in me first. And in that moment, that's exactly when that happened. Oh, man. I get goosebumps every time I think of that story because that story was such a defining moment, man. Like, sheesh. And so now we have this like beautiful creative partnership here in New York where we both give to each other's brands in different ways. And that's why what you guys see when you see us sort of talk or you see us doing things together, like that's the beauty of having somebody who really believes in you as much as you believe in them. And there's like no compromising on my dream and she's not compromising on hers. And that's the part that I think is the most critical is like, how do you go after the dream together? Ways that she helps me with everything you guys have been seeing. She's the first person I go to when I have new concepts that I want to put out into the world, whether it's new music. She's the first person to hear it. She's the first person to give me feedback. And what's so great is she has like, we always joke, she has like the layman ear. She doesn't come from hip hop culture and she's not listening to albums front to back. That's not her lane. But what she can do is give me sort of like a perspective of what almost like the masses would think. She's like the first person who is outside of the music head circle. She's the first person who gets to sort of give me the feedback on whether or not it's hitting for the larger scale audience that I'm trying to tap into. She helps me film, she helps me plan, she helps me coordinate. The biggest thing she helps with is the constant mindset work that is required of anybody going on and trying to create something that feels extraordinary, that feels grand. She's my person for all of that. So she's not just in the background, she's very much part of like my brand's creative DNA, everything that I embody. She is part of that. The same goes for her brand and everything she's doing. I am part of that. She's writing a book series, which we know is going to be a New York Times bestseller. She has a Substack for that. She's got a YouTube for it. She's on Instagram. She also has a business where she's essentially a consultant and helps develop frameworks. She's just a brilliant mind. And I get to be like a creative sounding board for everything that she's working on and vice versa. You know, me being like super creative, she has all of these ideas on how to execute things, how to be more efficient, how to think out of the box, how to do things differently. And she's gotten so good at challenging, not in a negative way, but more just to help amplify, challenging me in the right ways. She is part of the creative DNA that is the J Jury brand. I just feel like we are an opportunity to embody, like, you feel like you're trying to create something and you have a partner, just know it can be collaborative. You can support each other's dream. It doesn't have to be one person is the breadwinner or one person is the person on stage and the other person has to be the background person, you know what I mean? And truthfully, like, I just don't see, especially in rap, you don't see people talk about their partners enough, I think. I think one of my biggest influences is Toby Nwigwe. I think Toby and his wife Fat, they have their family and all the work that he does. She's very much like center stage with him very often. She's in the room with him, she's in the conversation with him. She's part of the brand. And I just think, especially in hip hop, there is a deficit of that. There's not enough of that type of collaboration and admiration put at the forefront of a brand. So I just feel really inspired, especially as I see people who follow us and people who are inspired by us. I'm like, fuck, yo, we have the opportunity to show people how to do it. Show people that you can go after a dream together and create what we call a dream life, where everything in life is exactly what you want it to be. So that's why I feel like it's just so important to talk about that. I did a whole video on this, so you can go and watch that in full, but like, I'd be lying if I said when we first got to New York that it wasn't challenging. We're paying way higher rents than we were in Portland. There's a lot of uncertainty. She just rebranded her business. I just started my journey as an entrepreneur. Salary is no longer like the idea of what if it doesn't work. Of course that floats into your mind. I didn't move here to be a starving artist, but it was our creative partnership and our belief in each other that was so much louder than the fear that allowed us to show up every single day. And I think that's the part that I think is so beautiful about approaching your dream with your partner in this way. This is the way I feel like is the unlock. You know, thinking back to that moment in March when we're in Arizona and we made that decision, we go through all of these things for the next year or so, and we start seeing the wins. She's getting the clients, she's starting her book, she's just doing so many amazing things. She's done writing her book, she's in the editing process right now. She's already read like the first chapter to the public, which is so fucking exciting. You know, and then I'm making my favorite music I've ever made. I'm working on a lot of great shit. I have some really cool clients that I'm doing projects for. And I've mentioned this before, we now are working on things together because of our creative partnership, because of what I do and what she does. Like, the way I work and the way she works benefits someone trying to start a brand or trying to start like a business. So we've worked with a few different clients in the last year together. And I remember feeling like, yo, we didn't even plan for this. I just wanted to like direct some stuff because it's fun and I love doing that part of the art, you know, and then it just so happens that we both are super into coaching. We're into growth mindsets. We're into helping other people grow. So naturally we have guided other people with our skill sets and like the way we work together. Y'all probably hear people say this, but we actually do this and it really does make a difference. And that's celebrating the small wins along the way. It's so easy to have like a major goal and just sort of be sad that you're not there yet, or feel like, damn, it's gonna take X amount of time to get there. Celebrating the small wins along the way is the way to keep going. And when you do that with your partner, it doesn't matter what your dream is. You don't have to be quitting your job to create a dream life. Your dream life could literally be the job you're in now or the home you're in now. It could be maybe you want to own your first home. Maybe you want to buy a boat or a lake house. Maybe you just want to travel and you haven't had the opportunity to go to certain places and you just want to be able to do that with your partner and have your job be whatever so that you can afford to do that. You don't have to quit your job to make all of this happen. What you do have to do though is let go of the shoulds. Anywhere that you're feeling like you should be doing something, or you're doing anywhere where you're doing shit because you feel like you should do it, that's the part that's holding you back from getting to the dream. And so once you unlock that and you let go of that and you find yourself finally going after the real dream you want to live in, celebrating the wins along the way is how you will stay on track. And celebrating the small wins is just something that she taught me a long time ago, and we really practice it. So we went to this restaurant. This was about a month ago. We went to this restaurant called Hutta. It's in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and they do, and they have like a really fire, it's Mediterranean or Lebanese, I forget, but they just have an excellent menu. The food's fantastic, the drinks are amazing. And a year ago, so like August of last year, we went for the first time, and we were just in a moment of dreaming and journaling and just reflecting like, damn, yo, it's only been 2 months since we've been in New York. We're trying to figure this shit out. But you know what? Let's come back to this exact restaurant on this day 1 year from today. So during that dinner, we scheduled it, invited each other, and bookmarked it for a year out. So this past August was our celebration dinner. And fam, when I tell you, like, sitting down and reflecting on everything that we have done together, I mean, from her starting her books to me having the music and the content and the storytelling, the clients together, all of the travel we've been afforded to do, both personal and through work. So many things are happening that feel like not real. It would be so easy to just keep going, but to sit down and like reflect on just that year, it was really powerful. And I'm really proud of us, y'all. We're fucking doing it. So celebrate the small wins and bookmark something a year out so you can reflect on all the things you're doing as you're building this together. So all that to say is, when you have somebody who believes in you as much as you believe in them, then the dream life is possible. I want to challenge everyone, but specifically I want to challenge everybody who has a creative mind, because I feel like oftentimes creatives are afraid to go for the creative thing because it's maybe not the lucrative thing, or it's maybe thinking outside of the box, and then it's like, oh, well, my partner isn't gonna support this because it doesn't bring in money. I can't be the starving artist. Like, everything is figure-outable. And when you have a partner who believes that everything is figure-outable, and you can together create a list of evidence of why it could work instead of focusing on why it won't work, then look at your entire life and start eliminating everything you're doing that you feel like you should be doing instead of what your heart fucking wants to do. And then letting your belief be louder than the fear together. So I hope you feel inspired to go build your dream together. Although Kayla and I journal and we sort of revisit our goals very, very frequently, we also just goal set every year, and the end of the year is coming. So we have shared some of the tools and things we do for goal setting with you guys on Instagram. But if you're here on YouTube and you're interested, we're gonna be hosting something at the end of this year to help you and your partner get a step closer to building that dream life together. So if you're interested, just drop a comment and I'll send you the details when the time comes. Thanks for tuning in, and that's it. Peace.
Breathe, hold up. Ain't really worth my energy. Hold up. I ain't wasting no time. I tell a bitch, please.